a return from the dead of possibly one of the best and most loved Android smartphones. For 2015, LG and Google have brought forth a revisit named the Nexus 5X. Is this the phone you've been waiting for? Well, let's find out. The Nexus 5 was perhaps the best Android phone of 2013. Its affordable price tag, flagship specs, and modest design were all loved by many, including us here at PhoneDog. So after 2 years, LG and Google have devised a new phone simply called the 5X. It's a larger, more powerful, but fundamentally delivers roughly the same experience as the Nexus 5. There's no excess, but there may be one or two flaws that may render this phone not quite up to scuff to its predecessor. The Nexus 5X in design terms looks a lot like the Nexus 5. It's around 5.8 inches tall, 2.9 inches wide, and 7.9 millimeters thick, and houses a slightly larger 5.2-inch 1080p IPS display, which brings in its pixels per inch to 424. Internally, the 5X is powered by the slightly less powerful but more battery-efficient Snapdragon 808 processor. That's the same chip found inside the Moto X and the LG G4. It's a 6-core unit paired with 2GB of RAM and the Adreno 418 GPU. Though power isn't the #1 factor with the 5X, it's really all about that experience of owning a Nexus device. The 5X definitely feels like a Nexus device in the hand. Its construction, while mostly plastic, still feels solid enough in the hand. I'd say about the same level of solidness as the original Nexus 5. And while the Nexus 5 didn't wow people with chamfered edges and metal design and build, it did provide an excellently built device. Its other hardware features include a 12.3 megapixel camera on the rear with laser autofocus thanks to LG, a 5 megapixel front-facing camera, and this new fingerprint sensor on the rear where Android Imprint lives. The last notable hardware feature on the outside is the USB Type-C charger port, which supports Quick Charging 2.0. Now, a Nexus device isn't really a Nexus device if it's not running the latest software. In this case, the 5X is running Marshmallow 6.0, and while on the surface 6.0 doesn't appear to be all that different from Android 5.0 Lollipop, the 5X is by far one of the smoothest Android experiences around, smoother than say the Nexus 6 from last year by twofold. It's one impressive software experience for sure. Multitasking, browsing the web, playing games, and watching 1080p video are all things that the 5X does with ease. But if I had one complaint with the software, it's the vertical scrolling in the app drawer. I just do not like it. Now, one big feature of the new 5X and the Nexus devices this year is Android Imprint. The fingerprint sensor found on the rear of the 5X delivers pretty reliable and fast responses. And after some time of using the sensor, the placement became way more natural than I first had thought, and everything has kind of become one motion of removing the 5X from my pocket and unlocking it by the time I'm getting ready to use the phone. Now, the camera on the 5X is also pretty good. It shoots really great 12.3 megapixel photo stills, and it has a lot of dynamic range, but we'll cover the camera of the Google Nexus 5X in an upcoming video where we compare tons of cameras together for 2015. Now, battery life wise, the 5X packs in a 2700 mAh battery inside, which when paired to a 6.0 device with Android Doze can survive an entire day of usage, but thankfully with Quick Charge 2, and considering you'll carry your USB Type-C cable with you, you can charge this thing in no time. But now it's time to decide if this phone is worth it or not. The 5X has a couple of flaws in it. For starters, it's not the main Nexus device this year. That is the Huawei-made 6P, which is more expensive than the 5X. That means the 5X doesn't have the greatest hardware set, but it's proven itself to be one great daily driver. And secondly, the 5X still comes in a base 16GB configuration, and with no available option of expansion, basically makes you purchase the more expensive and larger model of the 5X. So if you're already going to spend more than $400 on the 5X, the 6P is basically in the same realm, and it's just a much better built device. The 5X, believe it or not, is too expensive for what it is. At 16GB and $349, you could do a whole lot better. For example, the OnePlus 2 and the Moto X. And if you really want to get the best bang for buck, the OnePlus X at $250 is the best deal you can get. So sadly, the 5X isn't the phone you've been waiting for. We hoped it was too, and to some extent, it is, but it just doesn't deliver the the same value and experience like its predecessor, and that's a real shame. Believe it or not, we just don't think super highly of this phone. The budget smartphone market is just way too darn good right now, and I'm sorry, but this phone doesn't compete. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed our review of the Nexus 5X. If so, hit that thumbs up button below, and as always, my name is Marco Hanna, and I'll catch you in my next video.